bet you weren't expecting this. So the big question, what was the best smartphone of 2023? Well, the answer is there is no right answer. Smartphones are incredibly personal devices. Some people love iOS, some people love Android. One person's favorite camera system is another person's subject of absolute ridicule. Then we have the whole foldable versus non-foldable thing, and those operating systems and the ecosystems in which these devices reside do result in some hilarious spats between grown adults in the comment sections below these videos. The second caveat about this video is the fact that I don't get to try every single smartphone that is released each year. What I'm about to show you is my opinion on the best smartphone of 2023 based on all of the smartphones that I've used. And although this video is not sponsored by Gadget, I am fueled by their coffee and their fantastic coffee machine that's downstairs in the kitchen, and I've worked with them to get you some fantastic deals on their coffee machines. So if you've got a bit of money left over from Christmas and you fancy treating yourself in the new year, check that link out below. We'll start with the runner-up, which was the Pixel 8 Pro, which I've just realised I've left at home. So in 2022, my smartphone of the year was the Pixel 7 Pro, which was just a fantastic example of a flagship smartphone for very good money. The Pixel 8 Pro comes very close to the Pixel 7 Pro in that respect. I love the AI features. The camera system, once again, is utterly fantastic. And the pricing, although it's a little bit more expensive, is still very keen. At the time of filming, don't hold me to this by the way, but at the time of filming in the UK, you can get a £100 discount on the Pixel 8 Pro. Once again, that's something that you never see from Apple. The Pixel 8 Pro came so close to being my smartphone of the year this year if I hadn't tried the winner earlier in the year. And just a very quick shout out to whoever got that bay blue colour over the line, because it's utterly lovely. And even though the Pixel 8 Pro doesn't win my smartphone of the year, it does win the best looking smartphone of the year. I challenge you to argue about this in the comments, because it just is. It's just the best looking smartphone I've seen in 2023. The next runner-up was the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I'm really sorry, Tim. I know you've had a pretty bad Christmas, to put it mildly, but in terms of the Apple Watch, you know, if you know, you know. The iPhone 15 Pro Max didn't make it, even though I think it's the best iPhone Apple has ever made, and arguably the best smartphone on the market when it comes to build quality and just sheer presence. The decision to go for titanium was absolutely inspired, as was adding that 5x optical zoom. It just takes wonderful photos and I can't stop using it. The problem is that one of the best things about the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the ecosystem. So it's the way it ties in with your Apple Watch, with your Mac, with your Apple TV, with your iPads. And as good as that ecosystem is, I think it's the best on the market, by the way. It's very expensive. Once you buy this, you buy one of these, you buy a Mac, you buy an iPad, you buy an Apple TV, you start adding all of these subscriptions to the services that Apple has. The bill goes up and up and up. And yes, you do end up with a fantastically brilliant integrated system, but that's not a fair differentiator when it comes to this battle. None of the other phones that I'm talking about today have an ecosystem like Apple's, and yes, that's a feather in the cap for Apple, but it's also an incredibly frustrating Achilles heel, because once you get sucked in, it's very difficult to get out, and I don't think I like that. Another phone that didn't quite make it, but I have to mention in this list, is the Google Pixel Fold. I'm a full foldable phone convert, and the Google Pixel Fold, in my opinion, based on the foldables that I've used this year, is the best. There's 4 reasons for this. The first one is that the front screen, which isn't turned on because it's not charged, is fantastic. It's wide enough, it's usable, it's utterly brilliant. The second thing is it runs a very stock version of Android. The third reason is I love the design. There's something about this design which is utterly fantastic. The fourth reason is the fact that it has a pixel camera system, and as I mentioned earlier, it's my favourite on the market. The only problem is it's very expensive. It's also got very big bezels on that internal screen. We don't know what the long-term durability is like, although mine gets used quite a lot and it's still tight as a nut, so I'm not too worried about that. There's just something very magnetic about the Pixel Fold, and for that reason, this is going to be my Android phone of choice when I go to Vegas next month for CES. I can't wait to see what Google does next with the Pixel Fold, and no, I haven't tried the OnePlus Open yet, even though every other reviewer seems to have done. So if OnePlus, if you're watching, I know I've kept you waiting way too long, although the answer is in the title of this video. Anyway, my smartphone of the year for 2023 is the Honor 90. I reviewed the Honor 90 in July and I had absolutely no idea what to expect. This was my first experience of an Honor phone, and given the fact the price was below 500 quid, I had quite an unfair expectation of it. I thought it would just be a mid-range, run-of-the-mill Android phone. It really isn't. The Honor 90 comes with either 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage, or 12GB of RAM and 512GB of storage. It's priced at £449.99 and £499.99 respectively, and in a world of very expensive phones, that makes it immediately interesting. Firstly, it has one of the best smartphone displays I've seen this year. It's a 6.7-inch quad-curved floating display that has P3 colour, 1600 nits of peak brightness, and a 120Hz dynamic refresh rate. It is stupidly good for the money. But it doesn't stop there. Even though this has the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1, which no, isn't the latest Snapdragon chip on the market, is very quick in this phone. It's the accelerated version, I believe, and it zips along faster, once again, than the price should allow it to. This feels like a flagship phone. The camera system is fantastic as well. I'm going to treat you to some festive photos now from the Warwick Castle light trail that I took this phone to a couple of nights ago. It looks utterly wonderful again for the money. It's got a 200 megapixel main camera, it's also got an ultra wide and a 2x zoom, and I think these images look fantastic. Remember, this is very dark apart from the lights obviously, but it was a very dark scene in most of these images and it's dealt with it fantastically. I've loved shooting photos with the Honor 90. I think it's one of the best things about this phone, and even the video performance, the 4K footage that you get out of the Honor 90 is very impressive. I think the dynamic range is excellent. I think the detail is brilliant as well, and it doesn't have that really weird, jerky, strange image stabilization that you get on some Android phones. I really love the design as well. It's inspired apparently by fine jewelry, and well, I'm not the one to judge that at all, but I love the fact it looks different. It's really eye-catching, and once again, I think this looks more premium than the price tag suggests. Now, there are some corners cut. Obviously, this is a mid-range smartphone. For instance, it doesn't have wireless charging, which is a bit of a shame, but I kind of understand that. It does have super fast, I think is it 66 watt? Yeah, 66 watt fast charging, so that does get a thumbs up. It doesn't have stereo sound, which a lot of people mentioned in the comments of my original video. I don't care about that. And compared to a flagship phone like the iPhone, it does feel a little bit, well, not quite as well built, obviously, as this, but again, price difference, guys. I'm not alone in my appreciation of the Honor 90. I know lots of other reviewers who absolutely love this phone and, just like me, were massively surprised by it. If you're looking for a very keenly priced Android phone, you don't care about iOS, you don't care about the iPhone, but equally, you want to get a lot for your money, there's nothing better than this. And just before you go, there's a couple more just to mention very quickly. Okay, notable mentions very quickly. The Samsung Z Flip, not the Fold, the Z Flip 5. This very nearly made the list, and that's for two reasons. The first thing is the size. So when you flip it shut like that, it's tiny. And in this era of massive smartphones, that novelty never wears off. The second thing is that cover screen, which is fantastic for taking selfies and is the main selling point of the Flip 5 for a very good reason. Next up is the Sony Xperia 1V, 1.5. I can't stand Sony's naming convention, sorry, but it's this one basically. It's their flagship phone, which is stupidly brilliant. It's got this really tall display with very silly specifications which never really make themselves known, and a camera system which is just, again, really silly. You can turn this thing into a Venice cinema camera, which is something no one has ever asked for. But this is precisely why I love Sony to death. Please do not stop making phones like this. The Nothing Phone 2 didn't make this list either, mainly because of that 180 quid price hike over the Nothing Phone 1, which must be a record. But we have been here with Carl Pei before, bless him, and if you know, you know. I just hope that the Nothing Phone 3, or whatever comes next, remains as interesting as this, and doesn't get even more expensive. Lastly, we have the Pixel 7a, which again is an amazing budget smartphone from Google. I hope they continue this trend with the Pixel 8a next year. I'm sure they will. It didn't make the list because, well, Google's on this list twice already, and They can't be too greedy, but it comes very close. I'll put links to all of these reviews in the description below, but I would love to know, what is your smartphone of 2023 and why? Let me know down below. And if you want to see the full review of the Honor 90, keep watching for a link.